For those watching, my name is Alex, and my YouTube channel is called YaBonks. How's it going, Zach?
It is going good. I'm looking forward to all of the information that we'll be going over today because I think it's something that isn't necessarily easy to find on YouTube or, there's not a lot of people teaching it. So I think that there's definitely a need.
Yeah, and this, I think, constitutes a basic skill set that everyone coming into DeFi needs to learn. You don't necessarily need to master it, but the better you are at it, the better off you are protecting yourself and figuring out what's actually going on. And I'm not the best at this. There are people way beyond me in terms of blockchain analysis, tracking transactions and wallets. I have a decent amount of experience doing it over the past few months, but I've seen some just incredibly smart people using all sorts of tools that I didn't even know exist. But I can run through the basics here, and yeah. So where do you want to start today?
Yeah, I guess the big question is where do we even start? Like, what's your favorite tool to look at blockchain transactions? Um, any specific examples of things that you want to look at, or really just how does somebody get started?
Sure. And before I get into that, I just want to say for those who just tuned in, I am speaking with Zach from the Cardinal House Discord server, and they put on educational workshops and have asked me here to volunteer and kind of share a little bit of my knowledge and experience. So, with that being said, I will share my screen and just give you guys a glimpse into some stuff that I use. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. One of the things I use the most is dexscreener.com. It's just super useful for finding whatever tokens you're looking for. And the second thing I use the most is the chain explorer called BSCScan.com. Now, depending on which chain you're on, this website might vary. So for Binance Smart Chain, the Chain Explorer website by default is bscscan.com. And if you use like Ethereum, it would be like etherscan.com. And I have a whole, like, you can go to Ethereum Blockchain Explorer, etherscan.io, excuse me. And there's like polygonscan.com for the Polygon network. There's ftmscan.com for Fantom. There's snowtrace.io for Avalanche network. And there's chronoscan.com for Cronos. And there are many others like that. So I'm usually doing stuff in BSCScan because I love Binance Smart Chain. Tons of crazy super degen stuff happening there, and the highest amount of TVL and capital flowing through it, aside from Ethereum network. So it's the second biggest by the amount of capital. And yeah, so this is the front page here, and you can basically put in any address or transaction number or block or token here, and it can pull up some information. So I have a few examples that I'll run through with you. Last week or a week and a half ago, some of you might remember there was a rug pull for a tomb fork called Grizzly Bear Finance, and this is not Grizzly Fi, by the way. Grizzly Fi is different. That's a whole nother story of, with that whole thing's different. This is Grizzly Bear Finance, a tomb fork on Binance Smart Chain, and it was essentially, I think most people determined it to be a rug pull, although it's very hard to determine conclusively if that's the case with a lot of these situations because rug pulls get very sophisticated and they are very clever. You don't just have to pull the whole liquidity or steal the treasury and run away. You can do it through multiple wallets using different kinds of techniques that seem like normal trading. And this one was a very interesting situation. It was sophisticated and it almost reads like a movie. And I was part of the investigatory team that was volunteering to try to figure out what happened here. And I think some of the people in this workshop right now were part of that as well. I think Austin was here a little bit ago. He was part of that team too. And so if you look up, let's see if it's still here. So if I go to Deck Screener and I pull up Bear, I think it's probably either this one or, yeah, that one's probably it, with almost no liquidity. And one of the things that was happening was they had the rebates. So long story short, I'm not going to get into that. I'll just show you kind of how to poke around in something like that. So somebody got the wallet address of one of the whales that was involved, and this was their address. So just to show you, from if somebody sends you an address, you can copy it and you can paste it into the Chain Explorer here. It'll show you the address. You can click it, and then you can see their wallet here. Now, you see how there's no tab here that says contract or code or anything like that? This means this is a user account type of wallet. There are also code containing wallets on EVM compatible chains. According to the Ethereum white paper, there are two types of wallets: those that contain code and those that don't. If they do not contain code, they are usually generally operated by a human, although there are ways to control and interact with a wallet that does not contain code using other tools. But for the most part, this is just a generic user wallet, and it apparently belongs to a very large whale. Now, just to analyze this wallet here, and I apologize, Mr. or Mrs. Whale or Miss Whale, if you are watching. I do not mean to put your wallet on blast, but you were highly implicated in this latest rug pull. So I'm going to put you on blast, kind of. Now, whether they did anything wrong, I don't know, but I don't know for sure. So if you see right here that where it says B and there's a 6, do you see this? Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, do you see where it says B and it says click to view address on 6 other chains? If you click that, you can get the link on all of the other EVM compatible chains. Now, all these wallets are compatible across Ethereum and all of the chains built off of it. So that includes Ethereum itself, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon Scan, FTM Scan, Arbiscan, Snowtrace, and Cronos Scan. Snowtrace, as I said earlier, that is Avalanche Network. FTM is Fantom. Polygon, Polygon Matic, and BSC Binance. So from here, let's see, what do they have on Avalanche? So I right-clicked it. I went to open a new tab, and it opens it up in snowtrace.io, Avalanche's Chain Explorer, and here's their address. And, they've got some activity here. They're doing things. They're active as of a day ago, which is interesting. They were 100 days ago, they weren't doing anything. And then 2 days ago, they started activity again. So you can just kind of see, and that's the crazy thing about blockchain technology. It's public ledgers. So as much as this person here probably wants privacy, you don't get it. I know people think crypto's shady and all that, and it is. It's unregulated and people are clever. But if you know what you're doing, everything's there, and you can trace things around, and using the right tools, you can really get a good record of how things move around. Or if you have enough time and enough tabs on your browser, then you can really, there are times I'll have 100 tabs open from these chain explorers. So that's how you hop between chains for a EVM compatible wallet. You know, you're on BSCScan here, you click that, and it opens it up here. Let's see if they have anything on Fantom. They got like 750 bucks on Fantom here, in T-Share. So, you know, that's just one cool trick that a lot of people don't realize you can do. From any of these chain explorers, you can hop between the other EVM chains. And let's see if they have anything on Chronoscan. Not really, but they do some stuff with Mad Meerkat, you can see here. So just interesting. You can go back and forth between them like that. Now, that might be a little bit more manual than you want to get. So there's a cool website a lot of you are probably familiar with called Debank.com. Debank.com is very useful. So all you do is you come to Debank. You know, I can copy their address from BSCScan just by clicking this little copy icon here. It copies it. Let's pretend I'm not already there, and let's just put it in. It finds it. I click it. Cool. We're at their wallet accounts page. In total, across all of the EVM networks, they have over $132,000, and that's just in things that Debank knows how to read. Okay, so this technically could be undervalued. They could have funds hidden in newer protocols that Debank hasn't created interfaces or integrations with yet. They don't know how to read those other protocols yet. So, like for instance, Equinox DEX just launched on Binance Smart Chain. I do not believe Debank accommodates them yet. I don't think Debank has gone through the process of integrating their smart contracts and stuff into their system. So if you are staking anything on Equinox DEX, which launched just a few days ago, you won't see it in Debank most likely. So that's a way if like your significant other is poking around in your wallets and you want to stash something somewhere real quick, you can stick it in like a new protocol like Equinox that you think you can trust, and then later pull it out. Not relationship advice. Okay? Terrible relationship advice. But that's one way you can kind of make funds not appear on typical websites like this. So, for instance, and the reason I say that is because Equinox DEX, I staked a bunch of my portfolio in there. So my wallet currently looks very small compared to what it did a few days ago. And that's because Debank hasn't picked it up yet. But anyway, so it shows you like the total across all the chains. It shows you, let me zoom in a bit for you, so it's a little easier to read. It shows you how much you got in Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, Fantom, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Cronos, and Aurora. And it shows you what is just sitting in your wallet itself, like stable coins. DAI here's a type of stable coin, and they've got Ethereum tokens. This is just sitting in their wallet, and it aggregates that value and sums it up here for your wallet total. It shows how much liquidity that you have in LP, and then it shows all these different protocols like Tomb Finance, Spooky Swap, Trader Joe, etc. And yeah, so it's very useful. Now, as I was saying, this only shows protocols and stuff that they have manually integrated into their system. So it's not a total picture all the time. There are ways to kind of obscure that data if you want. Now, Debank's cool. You can follow people. So if you're tracking somebody's wallet and you're suspicious about them, you can follow them and they'll see you following them, by the way. So keep that in mind. Here's the total value of all their followers. And you can switch between each chain specifically here. So if I just want to see Binance Smart Chain, then it grays everything else out. They don't have anything sitting in their Binance Smart Chain wallet, really. But like I said, Ethereum, they had buku bucks, like $112,000 sitting there just in their wallet. So great website. Everybody should be aware of Debank as well as like BSCScan and the other chain explorers. Now, another nice thing about Debank is that you can go to like NFTs here, and if they support certain NFTs, they'll show up here. But most useful is the history tab, and the history tab shows you transactions on all of the different chains. So if you're worried about a wallet and bridging funds to another chain or network, and you're afraid you're gonna lose track of how those funds are moving around, Debank's nice because it makes it easy to see, like, here's the transactions on Ethereum, here's a little icon for Fantom, here's Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, etc., Polygon right here. So you can kind of see all this crazy stuff happening. Yeah, that's Debank. That's why it's so useful to me. And there's some other interesting things that you can do, but this is mainly what I use it for. So I can get an overall view of somebody's wallet across all chains, and so I can see a multi-chain transaction log, and that way it makes it easy to see if they've bridged funds from one network to another. And then also you can see like who sent who what, or like what, where the funds went, which contracts they interacted with. But I'll get into that stuff on the actual Chain Explorer. I think the data is easier to read there. So, all right, I'm back at BSCScan. Here's the address. If you scroll down, it gives you the overview. If you scroll down here, you can look at all of the transactions, and you can click this to get the full list. It opens it up like this. You have 8 pages here. Scroll all the way down. It can show you whether the funds are coming in or out, from and to. So who sent the funds where, and the value, as well as the transaction hash. Okay, so let's go back to the front page here for this wallet. Like this transaction here, let's right click it. Oh, and this little eyeball gives you a little preview. So if like, it's a lot of data to just like open in tabs. So if you want to get a quick preview real quick, you can see, okay, that kind of looks interesting. Now you right click the transaction hash, open a new tab. And this is what a transaction looks like on a Chain Explorer. There's a lot of cool information here. First things first is the transaction hash ID. If you click it and copy it, then if you go and you open up, if you're at BSCScan, you can paste that transaction hash here and hit search, and it'll pull up that transaction. Now, what I like to do is, you see in the URL bar here where it says like address slash this, you can just replace this with like TX for transaction slash, and then paste it, and it pulls up the transaction that way. And then if you want to go, back the other way, you can copy the address from like the from address here. This is our whale, and we can go slash address slash boom, and we're back at the whale's address on BSCScan. So just remember that. Just switch address with TX, and then after the slash, put in the URL parameter, which would be either an address, wallet address, or a transaction hash ID. Now, when you're in a transaction details page, this is very important. You can see if it's successful, or if it's failed, or if it's reverted, and you can see which block it's in. And on Binance Smart Chain, I believe blocks happen every, what is it, like 3 seconds? So like approximately. So a block on Binance Smart Chain is every 3 seconds, and inside that 3 seconds, a whole ton of stuff happens, and then is like recorded in time forever in the blockchain before the next block is written. So that's how you can kind of go back in time and explore previous blocks and see what happened when, with who, and with what. So, like for instance, in this block, which has this many block confirmations, which means this seems like it is solidified in the blockchain for all of time. It gives you the timestamp of when it happened, who initiated the transaction, if it interacted with a contract, and usually it will. This contract here is probably, I don't know, the DAI contract or something like that. And then it shows you how the tokens were swapped around. So it starts with our whale, went to this multi-chain AnyDai token contract, and then it used that to basically generate some of these like Binance peg DAI tokens, and then gave them back to the whale. So that's like a swap, kind of. And it shows you the transaction fee. That's how much you pay in gas. 8 cents, not bad. Binance Smart Chain, not bad at all. On Ethereum, I have seen the prices of gas be like $7, $8, $9. At times, I've seen it even higher. And it'll give you the current BNB price. And then if you, very important here, if you click to see more, you'll see very important data in the input data field. It's got some of this other stuff about the gas usage and blah, blah, blah. You can get into that later if you want. But input data is what you want to know about. So if you're analyzing a transaction from a contract and you're looking for like a specific function, this is where you would find which function was called in the smart contract. And this function was called, it's called any swap out underline. Here are the parameters that were sent to that function. So this is saying the type of this parameter is an address, and the variable name is token. This is another address, and its variable name is 2. And then this is an integer, a 256 integer, and it's a amount, and then another integer, 2 chain ID. And here are those parameters. And this is in hexadecimal code, I believe. And if you click view input as, you can put it into more human readable format, and you can click UTF-8. UTF-8 is what we're, that's not what, that is not readable by humans. So basically this function, we're not going to be able to see that well. Oh, here we go. So, all right. If you click decode input data, it'll decode that hex and stuff into a more readable format. And here are those, the types. Here's the address token. Here's the address 2. Here is the amount integer and the 2 chain integer. Boom, there you go. So that's super important information to know. Now, Austin, you might remember this. When we were investigating this whale's wallet during the Grizzly Bear Finance rug, which is the tomb fork, not the other big thing that's going on with Grizzly Fi, that's a whole different project. This whale supposedly was sent a message over the blockchain as just a transaction, because the developers were quote unquote mad that this whale dumped on them, or was in the position to dump on them. So they wanted to make an OTC deal of some kind with that whale. OTC meaning over the counter. And this is common with whales who have the ability to wreck the liquidity of a nanocap project, such as a tomb fork. And I have that transaction pulled up. Austin, you may remember this one. Here's the transaction hash. And here's the from address. Here's the to address. This to address is our whale. This from address is supposedly OX Grizzly, the Discord user, the dev or something, or Kate. It was one of those two. And it just looks like nothing, right? They sent 0.01 BNB worth about $3. And that's it. But if you hit click to see more, you'll see something interesting. You'll see the input data here, and it's encoded. So most people would just be like, what is this transaction? It's nothing. I probably got dusted a crap coin or whatever. I'm not going to touch it. But apparently this whale did this. This whale supposedly noticed this transaction, clicked it, went down to the input data, and then decoded it into UTF-8, like so. And this is what the message says. Hello, whale. We have seen your large transactions within Grizzly Bear. We would like to talk. Please reach out to OXGrizz on Discord. Now, that's interesting, right? You can send messages over the blockchain. Some people even have little, like, messenger extensions in their browsers or as part of their wallets, where it'll automatically pick up something like this and tell you have a message. And that's probably like 1% of DeFi users that are even aware that you can send and receive messages this way. So the likelihood of the developer sending this message and they just so happen to see it, decode it, read it, and then create a Discord user account to go into the server and negotiate with these developers is very far-fetched, if you ask me. But that's the narrative. That's supposedly what they're saying. A lot of us think it's kind of laughable, but interesting. So that's something you might, if you see a weird transaction, click on it, scroll down, see who sent it and stuff, and then go to input data, click to see more, and then click view input as UTF-8 and see if somebody sent you a secret message. I'm about to just start sending messages to people that way just for fun to see if anybody responds to me. And then we can actually see what their wallet looks like. So I want to open a new tab. This is a developer wallet, 0x50 ... And this this project's dead now. It's gone. The Discord's deleted. But let's see. You can see they're doing a whole bunch of stuff with like Bear Share and Bear and BUSD, money flying around everywhere. And you can dig into these transactions. You can see who sent them stuff. One thing that people were insinuating was that this was a big setup from the beginning from the developers. So you're now thinking, well, who is this developer? Who owns this wallet and how do I find out? Okay, so let's go to transactions and let's click this little click to view full list to see all 357 transactions. And then let's go to the last page of transactions and see who funded this wallet with its initial BNB, which is the gas token on this chain. Now, this was 38 days ago. They received 0.2 BNB from 0x65 ... Well, who's that? So somebody sent this wallet, who is the developer of this project that's supposedly rugged, and there's like a breadcrumb, like a trail of breadcrumbs. You can see it started, this was the person who, orchestrated this whole message to the whale. And there are a lot of people in the community who believe the whale, quote unquote, and this developer are the same person, or the team was all in cahoots with it. And it was just a sophisticated way to have that whale drain all the funds and then disappear. And then, they're, allegedly the developer, and then it's just like a sophisticated rug with really no good way to prove it. But you can kind of just see where the trail of breadcrumbs ends. So this developer was funded by this one. Let's open it in a new tab. All right, 0635 ... This is a very interesting wallet. $2.9 million in BNB. Now, you might be thinking, if this is the first time you've seen something like this, holy moly, we found the ultimate scammer. They've been doing this forever. They've done it so much, they've racked up $3 million. That's most likely not the case. What this most likely is a hot wallet. This most likely is a central exchange like Binance or Cronos or Poocoin or something like that has just a monstrous value. And how can you tell if that's the case? Well, scroll down, and if you look at the time between transactions, if it's like multiple transactions every minute or two, it's most likely a hot wallet. at a centralized exchange. And by hot wallet, I mean it's most likely the centralized exchanges, one of their external wallets that funds from the decentralized world flow into that external wallet, and then on their internal systems, they then have that external wallet as part of their internal accounting system for the inner wallets that are kind of hidden behind a curtain. So if you're in DeFi world and somebody sends their funds out to a centralized exchange, to a hot wallet, it can be very hard to go any further. So, and look, this has 900,000 transactions. This is not a normal human being, and I don't see a contract tab here. So this is not a contract with code in it. So this is actually just a regular user account type wallet, and that's, you know, that's on par with a central exchange wallet. So you can see so many transactions. It's most likely not a human. And like I said, $3 million, yada, yada, yada. If you want to verify even further, click comments. And if you click the comments, you'll see some real weird stuff, by the way, super weird. You'll see a lot of people calling everything a scam in here. So this says, this wallet is creating scam. Ah, ha, ha, ha. No, this is because newbies out here, including myself at one time, track a scam down to the central exchange, where then the scammer or whoever offloads the funds from a hot wallet into fiat currency or to somewhere else. You know, central exchanges are kind of a good way to shield that information. Now, so you'll see a lot of weird stuff in the comments here. You can flip through it. You just got to be aware that a lot of it's going to be spam. A lot of it's going to be people who are confused about this being a scammer's wallet. But there might be somebody in here that says this is the Binance exchange hot wallet. You can find useful information that way. You just got to know how to filter out the garbage. All right, so back to this. This person funded this developer 0x50D, which is supposedly Kate or Grizz from the alleged rug pull for Grizzly Bear Finance. They funded this developer wallet from a central exchange hot wallet, it appears. And there's it's basically a dead end. That's about it. So, and we can actually see if I go to, if they sent any funds back to a hot wallet, we might be able to figure out what central exchange it was. You can also Google this wallet address, and a lot of people on Reddit, or there are some analyzer websites that'll tell you this is the wallet from Binance, or this is the wallet from Poocoin. So, and from there, if there is hard evidence of a rug pull and somebody committed theft and there is hard proof of it, you can contact the KYC company. You can work with them, and you can give them your information and your evidence. And if they determine that evidence is proof, they can take that and they'll say, okay, you tracked it to the Binance hot wallet or KuCoin or whatever. And we now, as a KYC company, with the information you provided us, if they determine it's proof, right? It's very hard to do this, but if they do, they can contact the authorities. And once they have a crime report, once they file basically they report a crime to the authorities, then they can use that with the central exchanges like Binance, and then Binance will help you with their fraud department. Now, it like I said, you kind of have to contact the police and file a police report before Binance fraud department will work with you. So the KYC companies will do that. They'll work with Binance. Binance fraud department will then look at that account internally and find their internal wallet address, and then they'll look at the account that was made that is accessing it, and then they can check what IP address they logged in from. Now, if they're KYC'd and their bank account is all linked up to it and everything, that makes it pretty cut and dry and easy. But if they are in another country and they're using VPNs and they're not offloading it to any bank, they're just using the central exchange to kind of move the funds around to other exchanges or wallets and kind of cover their tracks, then they will look at the IP addresses they've logged in from. They can determine if those IP addresses belong to popular VPN servers. They can filter out the IP addresses from the VPN servers, and then they will look for any IP addresses that are left over. That those IP addresses mean they logged in to their central exchange accidentally without turning on their VPN. And that's often how they get caught. So they'll make one or two mistakes. They'll slip up, forget to turn on their VPN, log into their exchange, and do something. And then Binance can say, got them, here's their IP address. They can contact the internet service provider at their locality where they are. And then if they have like a police report and stuff, the internet service provider might agree to work with them to look up in their databases in the IP address allocation tables and stuff for which account had that IP address at that certain point in time. I used to work for ISP. We used to do this all the time. And you basically be like, here, it's first name, last name, here's their address and phone number. And they had this IP address for this block of time. And boom. And that's how they find these people in the real world. But there are a lot of steps, like I just said, to get to that point. You need proof that they just straight up rug pulled. It's, a lot of times they won't work with you if it's just like you got a hunch or a suspicion or you can't prove it. Yeah, so a lot of information there about how that works. And so when you're tracking transactions to the bidder end, most retail traders like us who are just investigating will hit those central exchanges like a wall. So Zach, I ran through all of that really quickly. Were you able to follow that?
Yeah, I mean, there's like you said, there's a lot to cover, and I think that especially somebody who's seen it for the first time are probably could benefit from listening over a couple more times. But no, there's so much stuff that goes on in the back end of transactions, like you said, like with the messaging, tracking stuff down to centralized exchanges, and how that can actually be tracked to real world people. It's a lot of really interesting stuff, and I learned a couple things too, like that B button with the number above it. I didn't even know that was a thing, and that's a little thing that I thought was really cool. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that was super cool.
And you'll see, like this one is a contract. It does not have that. So a contract will be chain specific. So this contract exists on Binance Smart Chain specifically. So you're not going to see that same thing there. And you will also see this tab. This tab is the giveaway that this is a code containing account or wallet, and it'll say contract. You can click it, and then you can click the code tab beneath it, and you'll see, this is a Gnosis safe proxy. This is most likely their treasury, and if you want to know who owns the treasury, you can click read contract. Oh, but it says, sorry, there are no available contract ABI methods to read. What do you do then? So if you go back to code, if this is a proxy, proxies are very hard to they're very confusing the first few times you run into them. You can click more options here. And when you do that, there's a thing that says, is this a proxy? And I'll zoom in for you guys so you can read it better. You click more options and it says, is this a proxy? You click that. There's this page called proxy contract verification. Please enter the proxy contract address you want to verify. I'm going to click verify. And then it says this, the proxy's implementation contract is found at this address. I'm going to click that address now. I'm just going to open it in a new tab. And here we go. Now, actually, this contract address does exist on other chains. So what I said earlier might have been incorrect. These can exist on other chains as well. It just didn't in that other contract we were looking at. But this is a Gnosis safe, and if you're familiar with them, they create multi-sig vaults for securing funds, and you can click read contract here, and then there's like check signatures. There are all these functions, and I'm going to look for the one that says get owners, and it looks like this one no longer has owners showing at this point, but there's another website if you're looking at a Gnosis safe specifically called gnosis-safe.io, and this is technically the I already know this going into this ahead of time. I already had this open. This is the treasury for that project we were talking about, and here are the safe owners. So if you want to see who owns it, you scroll down and you go to settings, you go to owners, and then this is that developer that sent that message to the whale. This is somebody else, and this is somebody else. And then you can look and see who are these people, where how did they fund their wallets initially, where did they send their profits to, what central exchange. And you can click assets here and you can see what coins are in here, stuff like that. They've got Bear and Bear Share, and that's about it. So that's how you look at a Gnosis multi-safe. There are some other multi-sig companies and vendors that do things a little differently, and they'll read a little bit differently in the Chain Explorer. And a lot of times, if you have a multi-sig, you can click contract and go to read contract, and then you can usually find who the owners are that way. And we might be able to do that if I copy this to the clipboard. And so I think that was just the Gnosis Safe Manager contract that I was looking at earlier in here. But if I go to the actual treasury address, Gnosis Safe Proxy. Okay, so yeah, we were right. That's where this was. And then you just click, is this a proxy? Blah, 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 blah. Now, I want to show you something cool, Zach. I showed this to Austin the other day. Not a lot of people know this, but if you want to read the code for like your favorite project, let's read the code for this Bear token, right? The Bear contract, it's a tomb fork. Let's see. You click contract here. Here's the token, and here's the code where it says contract. Now, you could read the code in the Chain Explorer, but it's a nightmare to read. It's very not user-friendly. You can get the ABI and all this stuff. That's advanced stuff. I'll go into that some other day. But here's a little trick. Go up to the URL bar, take out the .com, and type death.net. All right? DETH.net. All right? Thing's about to get weird, man. Check this out. Boom. It opens up Visual Studio in a browser-based instance, and it shows the file here, bear.solidity, bear.sol, and it has syntax highlighting. It's got, this is like a text editor, an IDE that you would use to develop code. You can even like run and debug it. You can search it so much easier. So like, I don't know, let's see if there's like a mint function in here. Mint. Here we go. Here's the mint function. And the search features got all sorts of options like an advanced text editor would. Much more than you could do in any Chain Explorer that you're used to. So this is super cool. All you do is change the .com on a Chain Explorer for a contract, and you just change it to .deth.net, and death is DETH, like Ethereum, like Ethereum, DETH.net. And you can look at, there's a bunch of stuff you can do in here. You can save the file out to wherever. You got extensions and stuff like this, but this makes it so much easier to read with the syntax highlighting, at least for me, and searching around. So, and then it'll also show you the different files if there are more than one file here. So yeah, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that is definitely something that I did not know about. I'm not really a huge code reader either, so I'm not sure how useful that is for me, but I will let Cole know, and I'm sure Cole would get super hyped up about this for sure.
Yeah, and so if you're ever like wanting to learn how to read the code, it's a lot easier than starting here like I did, where like you can click toggle full screen to make it a little easier to scroll through. But look, there's no syntax highlighting. It all just looks like nothing. If you know what you're reading, it's fine. But like if you're looking at this all day, going through contracts, it can be a pain in the ass. So what I used to do is just copy source to clipboard, open my code text editor with syntax highlighting, and paste it in there. But then some other people that I was working with on rug pull investigations was like, dude, check this out. Go to do the death.net thing, and blam, it's just super convenient for analyzing the code. Anyway, that's a little advanced. We're doing blockchain transactions today. Now that gives, I think, everybody a pretty good rundown of how to go through like BSCScan and go like see like a non-code containing user wallet account like this, and how to like compare that to one that contains code like this. And yeah, so that's how you do that. Now, some other interesting tools. If you guys use Poocoin, Poocoin.app, 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 you can do a bunch of interesting stuff. They have a lot of useful tools for analyzing wallets and rugs and stuff like that. So let's go to tools. Well, here, let's go to charts first. Let's find that bear contract again that we were looking at, and we can kind of see where was that at? Okay, give me 1 second. All right, I'm just going to go to the Gnosis safe. I'm going to grab the developer's wallet again. This guy. And then I'm just going to take this tab I had open, copy out the address in the URL bar. Boom, I'm back at this guy, this developer's wallet, where he is the developer of Bear. So I'm going to pull up the Bear contract. And here is the contract address. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to Poocoin. Poocoin is a funny word. And I am going to paste the address in here. It finds Bear. And it's going to give you a whole bunch of useful information, the general tokenomics, the chart, the order book, and all that stuff. Now, this has been shut down. This one is dead for all purposes, but you can go and look at transactions. It's got links here out to BSCScan. You can see the holders. That is something I didn't show you guys. You need to know how to look for holders. So if you're in BSCScan and you're at your favorite token, hopefully it's not Bear, you can scroll down and go to the holders tab, and it'll show you who owns the most tokens of all the wallets. Now, usually the first like 4 or 5 addresses are going to be like the liquidity provider, like PancakeSwap, as well as the developers, the treasury, and project-owned addresses. So generally, these ones are project-owned. If they have this means they contain code and they are a contract. So this is probably like, I don't know. And then here's like PancakeSwap, their LP pairs. And you can then see, like, if you own any, you can see where you stand compared to everybody else. Like, this guy down here, number 41, he owns 0.0005% of the supply. So that's super useful information. Everybody should know how to do that. Look up the holders and analyze this. Just click around. You'll learn a bunch of cool stuff looking at these wallets. But back to Poocoin. If you go up to from here, if you go to tools, there's like a rug check tool, and you can put in something and be like, was this a rug? Now, it's not a perfect system, but it's just more information for you to use your judgment to determine if anything fishy went on. And also, before you throw accusations out, it's always important to use words like "in my opinion," or "I believe," or "I think," or "allegedly" and "supposedly," because none of this stuff has been proven in a court of law yet. So technically, in some jurisdictions, if you say they scammed and this was a rug pull, yeah, you might be you might be right, but again, it could come off as slander, which in some places like the US could be considered illegal on your part. So just be careful how you word things and don't try to call everybody a scammer with unless you have like super hardcore proof in a court of law. That's just me coming from like a civil point of view. I see it happening all the time when the price goes down on something, everybody gets called a scammer when often that's not the case. Sometimes it is, but you got to have proof before you can really incriminate somebody. So, all right, here is the dev wallet checker. So this was Poocoin. I went to tools, I went to rug check, I put in the bear token, and it pulls up the dev wallet checker. It gives you a log of all the activity related to the token from all the wallets that have had ownership of the contract. That's also something I wanted to show you. If you go back to Bear on BSCScan, you can see, you click the contract here, and here's the contract creator. Everyone should know how to do this. If you're looking at a new project or one that you're in already and somebody says the contract deployer is shady and doing stuff, well, you can find out right here. Here's the creator address, and here's the transaction that they deployed this contract with. And so they deployed it here, and this was that developer that we talked about earlier. They deployed this contract. And so now I know it was this guy. This guy created Bear token. He deployed the Bear contract. Now, even though he is the contract creator, he might not at this time be the contract owner. So the contract owner is oftentimes shown in the contract itself down here. You go to read contract and you look for something that says owner. Here we go. So it looks like they have renounced ownership. What you're seeing here is a state variable in the on the chain. So for this wallet, this contract, this code containing account, it has a state variable called owner, and it has changed. So normally when you deploy a contract, the owner will be whoever creates the contract. In this case, that deployer transferred ownership over to what looks like a null wallet address. This is a null or void address, okay? So it looks, and some people could say this means it's renounced now, because if you've transferred ownership to this, you can't get it back, okay? So let's see what Poocoin says when it tracks all the activity from that original owner of this contract. Scroll all the way down to the beginning of time, and here is where things started happening. And yeah, so you can follow all this stuff and basically see from Poocoin just has a thing that basically just runs through these transactions and follows it around. But yeah, and you can see they send to wallet, send to contract, and you can also find where they transfer ownership. Here they removed liquidity pairs, so that could be interesting in an investigation. Like if you stay up all night, like I did and Austin did for like days on end going through these, like you would look at each of these transactions and try to figure out what's going on, and it's very hard to do that without context sometimes. But sometimes if people remove LP, they could be pulling the liquidity and rug pulling. Now, I don't think that's what happened here, but yeah. So then up here, it says ownership transferred to the null address, just like I showed you here. So the owner, that is correct. The owner is the null address, and it's showing here on 7/27, they renounced ownership by transferring it to the null address. So that's another tool if you're investigating the blockchain. Poocoin .app rug check tool. Very useful to get this kind of a sequence of events related to the owner or deployer of a contract and follow how the ownership was transferred around for that contract. Okay. Other cool tools, you got Moonarch.app. They got interesting stuff. I know we're running out of time here probably, but I just want to show you guys other interesting tools. So here's that bear token, the owner, it says is renounced, like we just determined. Here's the original creator, gives you tokenomics, supply and liquidity stuff, and it gives you a cool little rug check estimator. None of this is like super accurate, but it could point you in the right direction about like modifiers like only operator or only owner and stuff. And you can kind of look through this and learn a bunch that way. And you can see the transactions, blah, blah, blah. They've got some cool tools. And then there's like bsccheck.eu. If you put in this here and click check, you can see some interesting stuff. Refresh my browser real quick. Solve the CAPTCHA. I'm not a robot, although sometimes I think I am. There we go. So while that's going, and that I think is my tool set. There are other tools that are kind of cool, like bubble maps and stuff like that, that you can use. And there's some free bubble maps that show you how things connect visually. I would look into those as well. Some of them are you have to pay for them. So you'd have to determine that. Another thing, here's the ethereum.org white paper. This is a very dry read, let me tell you. But skim through certain parts of it, like this Ethereum accounts, and it just tells you like interesting things, and then you'll better understand the environment you're working and operating in. And let's see if this is done yet. Nope, still going. So anyway, that's about all I have for you today. Zach, did I come in right under an hour like I was planning?
Yeah, you did perfect. So yeah, that's surprising. I mean, usually you have a lot of really good information, and you try to get things done under an hour, like your video on, I forget which project it was, but you said like 2 minutes into it, I'm gonna get this done under an hour, and then it was like 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, oh man, I'm bad. I'm loquacious and I am bad at time management. So I'm surprised that I hit the content I wanted to touch on, and it has been about 1 hour exactly. So very cool. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I got one final question. So there's a lot of very valuable information that you shared throughout this past hour. But if somebody were to watch like 5 minute recap of what we just went over, what would you say as far as tracking transactions and actually applying that knowledge to being a more profitable or just a better DeFi investor?
Well, okay. In terms of being a better trader, now I have to admit I'm not the best or most sophisticated trader myself. There are plenty of others out here with better TA than me, better insider information, better and maybe not insider information, but they might have their finger on the pulse of a certain project or community sentiment better than me. They might hear new information and news before I do. But if I am in a position like, I don't know, and I don't mean to plug a project, but I am in a project right now called Kyoto, and I'm watching this chart like a hawk. So I have actually made videos about them, so this is not a sponsored video by them or anything like that. I'm just trying to show you a play that I'm working on currently. So they're switching over to a new system and stuff, but they're about to switch over to this whole new system. And as soon as the news was released, we see all these buys coming in. Like this candle, this is a monster candle right here. One thing you can do is if you see this in Dex Screener, you can be like, what was that? Well, look at the timestamp. We've got August 19th at about 4:30 p.m. my time. So I'm going to scroll on down, and I'm going to see if I can see that. Here it is. Okay. I don't know if you can see, but
A little
that's
bit of a big buy.
that's a yeah, almost $43,000 buy. And it caused quite a move on a chart because it only has, $2.5 million in liquidity. So like that was crazy. Now, if I'm watching this, I might be like, who is that? So you can right click transaction here, go to open a new tab. You can click this from address, and then you can kind of see, and then you can start that process that we talked about, just like poking around, seeing who it is, seeing how much of something they have left. So one thing is whales in these microcap projects like, I don't know, let's see, W share. I watch like Frozen Walrus. I trade sometimes. Like this. Look at this green candle, right? This thing has $170,000 of USDCE in the liquidity. It's very volatile. And this is a share token in a Tomb Fork, so it's going to be super volatile, right? People try to swing trade these all the time. And you'll see a giant green candle like this, and I'll be like, who in the heck was that? So I'll look at the time. This is 21st of August, 8:35. I'm going to scroll down to 8:35 this morning, my time. And I'm going to see somebody bought like $12,000 of Walrus share. And that's a lot, right? And I'm going to be like, who's that? And okay, it's this address. Now, a lot of times people making big buys, like this wallet doesn't seem to have anything else recognizable in it or any value. So this is probably one of many wallets that this whale or person has, and they're probably sending stuff around. But you can kind of go through and see what other wallets they're playing with, because they're probably coming at small or nano cap projects like this that I like to trade in with multiple wallets, so it makes it harder to track them. But you can compile a list of like which wallets you think are theirs, because they're sending funds to themselves, and then they're using that to, you know, use one wallet to create this candle, and then use another wallet to create these little candles, and then they can kind of hide how many of this W share token they have, so it makes it harder for you to determine how much more that they have left to dump. So if I see this green candle, and then I see the price going up above the top of that at some point from people FOMOing in, or general market sentiment, or they're getting close to peg or something, this whale might be thinking, okay, every time it goes up a little bit, I'm going to sell a little bit of this giant bag I just bought, and so on, and so on, and so on. And he'll come out with a few % profit over time, right? And that's assuming that's their strategy. They could be holding and waiting to do, you know, play it differently, or to use it to print in the boardroom, to print the peg token. Another story entirely if you're not familiar with Tomb Forks. But this is basically how you can track big players and see where those funds are. And another thing you can do is you pop out the Chain Explorer. This is on Avalanche, so there's a snowtrace.io Chain Explorer. And you can go to the holders list, and I can see who owns the most W share. So, like, here's 6,000, here's 4,300, 4,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, and you can kind of see, you know, there aren't too many mega whales in here, but in order to blend in a bit, maybe some of those whales have a few of these wallets, and then, you know, their total actual value of W shares aggregated, so they could potentially, you know, dump one bag, you check the wallet, and you're like, okay, good, they can't sell anymore, and then they hit you with another wallet and sell on you even further, and it blindsides you. So that's another way that you can kind of see, okay, that guy who did 12,000, maybe he has moved funds around somewhere else that, you know, he might be stashing. And if you click here where it says ERC20 token transactions, this makes it easier to see the token specific to this chain. And like, so you can see it in more readable format, like USDC, Frozen Walrus. So like this person sent 360 of that W share to another address, and you can go there and see, okay, this is the contract actually. So they took that 360 W share and they staked it in the Norwal boardroom contract, which then prints Norwal, I believe, when Norwal is above peg. So this person might actually be farming the seigniorage protocol for actual yield. They might not be swinging it. So you could take that information. I just saw they might actually be staking up their W share in the regulation in the boardroom to get more of the peg token, and to try to, and that kind of increases the health of the overall ecosystem in a Tomb Fork, seigniorage protocol, you know. And so this giant candle might not sell on you right away. So that's how I would use this kind of information to determine this is a giant player out here compared to all us small fish in the holders list. He could wreck me if I'm speculating on this very volatile asset. So if I'm doing some super degen stuff like playing the share token, swing trading the share token in a Tomb Fork, I want to look out for this kind of stuff because this guy or girl is setting me up to use me as exit liquidity at some point potentially. And same with like these people right here. That like the people who did this kind of are probably the people who did this maybe. And you could, that's how I would use information. At least that's how I've been using it day to day in terms of trading. And yeah, was that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. I think
Cool.
definitely the biggest piece, at least what I use tracking transactions for, is to kind of monitor those bigger whales in the ecosystem. And it's always fun to snoop around too. You get to see wallets like that with a couple $100,000 in them, so
Crazy.
it's always
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and like in a lot of the projects that I have friends in, or like the developers are like my friends and stuff. I talk with them a lot. Like they're not massive projects. So somebody with this much money could really affect the the project. And for small time traders like myself, I have to kind of look out for these big players because they can cause these massive swings. Like they almost have as much money in their wallet as the entire USDC in this liquidity pool. So if they bought all of this up, the price would like go up like 50% or like double. I'm not sure how the impermanent loss would work off the top of my head on that, but it would be crazy. It'd probably go up like 15, $20 at least. So that's good information to know who the big holders are, what their habits are. Are they dumping all the time? Are they uh are they staked in like LP farming pools? Are they are they contributing to the health of the protocol? Um and yeah, because really, I mean, we're all out here competing against each other at the end of the day. So it's just like the stock market. We're trading, right? And there are going to be winners and losers in trading of liquid markets, just like forex trading, commodities trading, whatever. Um, so just be aware. Some of these people might be out to get your bag, if you will, and you got to kind of play defense as well as offense. And it just helps knowing how to look through this stuff so you don't get blindsided because you see people FOMOing in on YouTube or in Discord because oftentimes like you don't know if somebody's shilling or you don't know if somebody's associated with the team and on a different account or something, or you just don't know them and they're pumping the protocol or their bags or something. So you have to kind of discern what's going on with the communities and the news and the trading on the charts. So all are very useful things to know, and being able to explore the blockchain and analyze addresses and transactions and tokens and contracts all help in those efforts.
Yeah, yeah. There, like I said, lots of great information. If anybody has feedback about how this went or has any questions, feel free to drop them in the AMA questions channel. But yeah, I'm sure we will definitely get that recording out as that's published because I think we could all look over a couple parts a couple more times just to get a clear understanding or remember the different links you were showing us because it's a lot of great information.
Thanks, man. And I know I talked fast. I know a lot of people were probably I don't know if they were looking for like a conversation, but we came into this knowing that like you're gonna say just come in here and dump all the information as fast as you can in an hour, right? So so that's kind of what happened, and I hope it's useful. I know I talk really fast. I covered so much information that for a new person out here, like this would take somebody weeks or months to learn if they take the time to even do that. A lot of people don't, but yeah. So Watch it back carefully if you missed any parts. Hopefully it was helpful. If you guys have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to Zach. I'm on Discord. I'm YaBonks, hashtag 9984. I'm also on YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel, YaBonks, YaBonks. I have a ton of videos on there. Some are educational, some are project specific, some are giveaways. I do a lot of fun stuff on there. So yeah, Zach, thanks again for having me on here. I always enjoy volunteering my time every week to do something good or educational to try to give back. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, and thank you again so much for coming back on. I know we did our first workshop with you, now this one, and I'm looking forward to what other nice information and little golden nuggets of information that you're going to give us in the future. So looking forward to it.
Thanks, man. I will talk with you later, okay?
Sounds good. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I know taking time out of your day really means the world to me because your time is valuable, and spending it on educating yourself. I think that's a great way to use it, and it means the world to me that you're willing to hear what we have to say and what Alex has to say. So it really means a lot. And with that being said, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk with you all later. Bye.
Take care.